Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today we're getting into something you might not expect. We're talking wealth building.
Okay.
But here's the twist. We're looking at it through the lens of the Bible.
Interesting. A text from thousands of years ago, right?
Right. And we're going way beyond those usual sayings, like a penny saved is a penny earned kind of thing.
Right.
We found this article, and it lays out 12 biblical principles for building wealth.
Okay.
And let me tell you, some of these were pretty surprising, even to me.
Absolutely. Like, it's fascinating how a text from millennia ago can still offer insights, even, about personal finance.
Exactly. So we're going to break these principles down, and who knows, you might find some of them surprisingly relevant to your life.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter what your beliefs are.
Yeah.
This is about practical wisdom.
Exactly. We're going to unpack these principles and see how they might apply to your life, regardless of your background. Absolutely. So the article starts with this idea of work as virtue, which really stood out to me because it's not just about, clocking in and getting that paycheck.
Right.
It's about finding real dignity and purpose in whatever work you do.
Exactly. And, the book of Genesis actually talks about this.
Okay.
Work being a fundamental part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Like even back in the Garden of Eden, right?
Wow.
So it's like deeply ingrained in our nature to be productive.
It's like that drive in us.
Yeah, to find fulfillment in our endeavors.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
It's almost like finding a job that you truly love, a career that really lights you up.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a way of honoring that whole idea of work as virtue.
It's true.
But then it gets even more interesting because the article goes on to suggest that wealth itself, like actual wealth, can be seen as a gift.
Okay.
Something that's entrusted to us.
Yeah, like the idea of stewardship.
Yeah.
That's really important. Yeah. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that every single wealthy person is automatically, righteous or anything like that.
All right. Right.
But it does make us think, what if our ability to earn, to create wealth, is a form of blessing?
Okay.
How can we use it responsibly? How do we make it meaningful?
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. It's not just about the amount, it's about the intention behind it.
Okay,
It's like
so-
aligning your financial goals with your values, would you say?
Absolutely.
Okay, but let's get down to the practical stuff,
Let's do it.
because I think this is where it gets really useful, for our listeners. The article dives into some really concrete strategies from the book of Proverbs.
Yeah.
Like how to handle your money, how to think about your career.
Absolutely. And one of those strategies is that classic advice: strive for excellence, which I know can sound a bit vague at first.
It does, yeah. When I first read that, I was like, okay, sure, but how does that actually translate into results?
Right.
Like, give me something concrete.
Exactly. So let's bring it into the here and now. Think about building your career, right? What are the skills that are really valued in your field?
Yeah.
How can you position yourself as an expert? Are you constantly learning, growing? It's about going that extra mile, whether it's, mastering new software or just being known for your amazing client service.
It's like that saying, become so good they can't ignore you.
Exactly.
And this doesn't have to be just about, climbing the corporate ladder either.
Right.
This could be about starting your own business, mastering a craft,
Anything.
even how you approach your hobbies, right?
Exactly. It's about aiming high in any area of life and putting in the effort to actually get those remarkable results.
I love that.
And, Proverbs also really emphasizes financial discipline,
Oh,
which I think is so relevant, especially today.
in our world of instant gratification and, online shopping.
It's so easy to overspend now.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right.
So tell me more about that. I'm really fascinated by how this ancient wisdom, connects to our modern challenges.
Financial discipline.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
In a world of one-click purchases and, online shopping sprees.
It's so easy to overspend. It really is.
It is. But even back then, Proverbs had advice for this, like storing up food and oil for the future.
Oh, wow.
Think of it as their savings account.
Sure.
It's about being mindful, having a plan, and being ready for those unexpected things life throws at you.
So basically, the ancient wisdom of having an emergency fund
Exactly.
and maybe thinking twice before hitting buy now on that impulse purchase.
That's it.
I can definitely get behind that.
Yeah. And this actually leads us to another topic that can be kind of tricky.
Okay.
Debt.
Yeah, debt. Everybody's favorite topic.
Right. It always seems to be portrayed as this big, scary monster.
It does. It does.
And while there are definitely risks, the Bible's view on debt is actually more nuanced than you might think. Oh, yeah, that's right. Isn't there that line about the borrower is a slave to the lender or something
Mm.
like that? I've always found that a bit intense.
It is a powerful image. It really makes you think.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that, debt shouldn't be taken lightly. But if we look a little deeper, it's not about saying all debt is bad.
Okay.
The message is about being strategic, being wise.
So how do you do that? What does that look like?
Well, think about it this way. Taking out a mortgage to buy a house, which is hopefully going to increase in value,
Right.
that's different from racking up credit card debt on things you don't really need.
So it's about understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt, right?
Exactly.
Investing in your future versus just instant gratification.
You got it. And, this whole concept of investing for future growth,
Yeah.
it's actually beautifully illustrated in the parable of the talents.
Oh, yeah, the parable of the talents. Now, I'd heard that before, but a little refresher never hurts.
So basically, in this parable, you have a master who entrusts different servants
Yes.
with different sums of money,
Okay.
right? The servants who invest wisely, what they were given, they multiply it, they make it grow, and they're rewarded for it. But then there was that one servant who buried his money out of fear,
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
and he gets condemned for it.
Right, because he didn't do anything with it. He just let it sit there.
Exactly. The powerful story about taking risks, being proactive, and making the most of what you have.
Really is.
And that actually ties into another fascinating concept from Proverbs, the idea of building generational wealth.
Generational wealth.
Yeah, it talks about how a good person leaves an inheritance, but not just for their kids, for their children's children,
Wow.
leaving a legacy.
That's really thinking long term. It's not just about, getting rich quick for yourself.
Right?
It's about creating something that lasts, that impacts the future. Exactly. It's about planning for the future, not just your own, but for the generations that come after you. But here's where it takes an interesting turn.
Okay, I'm intrigued. An interesting turn. Tell me more. An interesting turn, you say. I'm all ears. What's the twist?
Well, just when you think it's all about, amassing wealth and passing it down,
Right.
the article brings in this unexpected element: generosity.
Generosity.
Hmm.
That's not usually the first thing that pops into my head when we talk about building wealth. So tell me more. How does that fit in?
Yeah, it might seem a little counterintuitive at first, but the idea is that generosity is a part of like a holistic approach to wealth.
Okay.
The article talks about this concept of tithing,
Yeah.
where you give back a portion of what you earn.
Right.
And it's not just about the actual act of giving money, but the mindset behind it.
So it's more about the intention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Recognizing that everything, comes from somewhere, and we can use what we have to make a difference. So it's not about like hoarding wealth, but letting it flow, letting it benefit others. That's a pretty powerful way to look at it.
Yeah, it really shifts your perspective. And you know what? It reminds me of that story in the Bible about Joseph.
Oh, yeah. Joseph with the coat of many colors, right? And all those jealous brothers.
That's the one.
Yeah.
But the part that's really relevant here is how Joseph, through careful planning and saving during the good times,
Yeah.
he was able to help all of Egypt survive that terrible famine.
Oh, right. Because he prepared for the future, he knew the good times might not last.
Exactly. So it's not just about, having a lot for yourself, but having enough to help others in times of need. That's real generosity right there.
True generosity. I love that.
Yeah. And, it all comes back to personal responsibility, not just for ourselves, but for our communities too.
I gotta say, when I first imagined this deep dive into the Bible and wealth building, I was kind of expecting something, well, a lot more preachy. But this has been truly insightful.
Right. It's amazing how relevant these old principles still are.
Absolutely.
Thousands of years later, they still offer this really valuable framework.
They do, for thinking about our relationship with money and work, even our impact on the world.
Absolutely.
It's not about judging anyone's desire for success or wealth, It's about encouraging all of us to think about it in a deeper, more meaningful way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about asking yourself, what does wealth really mean to me? What kind of legacy do I want to leave behind?
Those are powerful questions for all of us to think about, no matter what our financial situation is. Wow, this has been an incredible deep dive. Thank you so much for guiding us through these stories and these insightful principles.
My pleasure. It was a great conversation.
And for our listeners, we would love to hear from you. How do these biblical principles resonate with you? Do they change how you approach your finances? Let us know. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.